Hey, what's up, guys? Let me just show you guys something real quick. So, Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan Experience yesterday, actually late last night. And while the entire community and mainstream media is talking about, normal lies as usual about him, basically diverting you, they're talking about him smoking weed and all this. And he didn't even inhale the weed, for one. He took one hit, didn't inhale it, blew it out. The entire mainstream media is talking about that and his stock dropping. But what they don't want to really talk about is all the contents in this 2.5 hour podcast. So this guy has apparently, the mainstream narrative of Elon Musk is that he's the main guy that would lead the AI initiative and the transhumanism that would be a disaster on humanity, which is actually already happening through geoengineering and other things. But not just that, but they believe that he's the savior because he says that, there's so many dangers to it, making you believe that he's the guy that could alleviate the dangers. See if you notice how that works. So, Elon, well, please save us from the dangers. We know, making you assume that AI is going to happen anyway, but we need somebody to save us from the dangers. But listen to this. Listen to Elon talk here on this particular subject. He ends up talking about the limbic system of the brain. And, well, just listen.
We're all collectively programming the AI, and and Google plus all the humans that connect to it are one giant cybernetic collective. This is also true of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all these social networks. They're giant cybernetic collectives.
Humans and electronics all interfacing and constantly connected.
Yes. Constantly.
One of the things that I've been thinking about a lot over the last few years is that one of the things that drives a lot of people crazy is how many people are obsessed with materialism and getting the latest, greatest thing. And I wonder how much of that is, well, a lot of it is most certainly fueling technology and innovation. And it almost seems like it's built into us. It's like what we like and what we want, that we're fueling this thing that's constantly around us all the time. And
so it doesn't seem to understand here, which a lot of people don't, is that's correct. We're an electrical body. When we interact with electrical things, we have not only dopamine and things going on, but we also dumb down our frequencies to relate to these electronics. So if you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, you can see that the radio waves, microwave waves that are under visible light radiation, natural radiation from light, from our sun, including UV. But we dumb down our frequency as it goes a slower vibration when we interact with electronics. So while our bodies like them, it dumbs them down. And you can see this through science, the more and more physics that you understand. So Joe's correct, but he doesn't know the impact these electronics have on people. Literally, we have zombies walking around the planet already, facing phones, not looking up, we're already there, guys. And you combine what's in our diets, the zombie level behavior that humans already have. They can't even speak to the opposite sex when they're standing right there. They'd rather be in their phone touching it. And so we already have an addiction that's very, very scary. But let's go on.
it doesn't seem possible that people are going to pump the brakes. It doesn't seem possible at this stage when we're constantly expecting the newest cell phone, the latest Tesla update, the newest MacBook Pro. Everything has to be newer and better. And that's going to lead to some incredible point. And it seems like it's built into us. It almost seems like it's an instinct that we're working towards this, that we like it.
Mm-hmm.
That our job, just like the ants build the anthill, our job is to somehow or another fuel this.
Yes. When I made those comments some years ago, but it feels like we are the biological bootloader for AI effectively. We are building it. And then we're building...
Without our brains, there's no such thing. Well, as we know that. Without our brains, there was no such thing as computers. We dumbed down our natural intelligence to create these things, but now all of our intelligence is going into them. That's what the internet essentially is. So we took, instead of keeping all this knowledge within ourselves or, through other means, we just, like, for example, instead of books and other things like that, we just transferred the knowledge to a centralized place. So he goes on to talk about more.
Progressively greater intelligence. And the percentage of intelligence that is not human is increasing. And eventually, we will represent a very small percentage of intelligence.
So what he's saying is the internet has basically gathered all of our information. It has basically taken all of our information and our habits and what we know. It has put all that in a grand database, and now based on all of that, not only does it know everything we know because we've shared it, but it in turn can actually make decisions like we make based on that data. And what he's saying is, over a period of time, we're not going to have anything else to give. There's not going to be anything else that we can share that will benefit the world. And therefore, the only decisions that can be made are through computers. But I have a hard time believing that. For one, because I don't believe that we've really shared everything. And Elon will go on to talk about that in this podcast too. But, for example, emotions and things like that, there's no way. There's no way you can tap into... Our physical body and mental body may have given you some things, but there's no way you can tap into astral and emotional bodies and some other things that multidimensional humans experience on a day-to-day basis, including spirituality. But he goes on. Let's continue.
But the AI is informed, strangely, by the human limbic system. It is, in large part, our id writ large.
How so?
Well, you mentioned all those things, the sort of primal drives.
Mm-hmm.
There's all the things that we like and hate and fear. They're all there on the internet. They're a projection of our limbic system.
So on this is interesting. So he goes on to say here that they're a projection of our limbic system. So he doesn't go into a lot of detail here, like he wants to basically not go too far. See his face? And Joe's looking at him like, go on. But he doesn't, he doesn't know what else to...
No, it makes sense. And the thinking of it as thinking of corporations and just thinking of just human beings communicating online through these social media networks as some sort of an organism it's a cyborg. It's a combination. It's a combination of electronics and biology.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's where we get scary now, guys. So we know that the best and the most healthiest people on the planet are the ones that are more towards nature, less towards electromagnetic frequencies and technology. Now, we all know that we like technology because we simply like answers. But when it comes down to nature versus technology, we should always, of course, select nature, right? Actually, we're at our best. A lot of people actually don't believe that, though, for some reason. They actually believe that artificial intelligence wired to their brain will actually make them somewhat of an amazing superhuman human being. I mean, do we honestly believe that you were created on this planet to be linked with machines? I mean, give me a break. It's not possible. I don't think it's ever going to take place, and even if it does, it's going to be a disaster. Now take a look at this. Limbic system. Limbic system is a set of brain structures located on both sides of the thalamus. This is the hypothalamus, immediately beneath the cerebrum of the brain. Let me see if I can get a better picture here. Now, what's interesting about this is we just heard Elon Musk talk about limbic system and its relationship to AI. It's a portion of the brain that deals with three key functions: emotion, look at that, memory, and arousal for stimulation. Well, guess what, folks? The more in tune with technology we are and the less away from nature we are, men can't get it up anymore. They're not stimulated. There's no sex drive. People are forgetting left and right due to the aluminum in the air and in the food. And not just that, but the fluoride in the water, and we can go on and on and on. And their emotions are dead. These people don't have emotions anymore. Because when you tap into the emotions, you're tapping into the spiritual body. People can't even do that anymore. So it is a direct attack on our limbic system. A direct attack. It's already being attacked. And then it goes on to say the thalamus is located within the brain stem and is part of the pathway of information to the cerebrum, which is a section of the brain responsible for thinking and movement. So this doesn't even talk about thinking and movement. So if it is, cerebrum is responsible for thinking and movement. So if we do destroy the limbic system, then we are going to end up destroying what next? The cerebrum, which is our movement is going to be impaired, which is already happening with autism and things of that nature, and thinking is already impaired. We don't even want to think for ourselves anymore. We want to have a bunch of background stuff playing, and we want to search on the internet for all of our answers instead of just thinking through it ourselves. We are in danger mode, folks. Absolute, utter danger mode, and it's because of the threat that is artificial intelligence. And a lot of people, believe it or not, they do not see this coming. But Elon Musk is basically warning you that it's coming, guys, and I'm going to be the guy that basically does it or warns about it and then does it. But this guy, honestly, folks, he's just a puppet for the military-industrial complex who's already doing it. Now, even if he was legitimately concerned about it, it doesn't matter. His company is going to be the company that ends up trying to launch it. And I believe his Tesla cars already try to do some things, AI. But once you start attacking the actual human body, with wiring it to the brain, even wirelessly, then we're talking about danger. So let's go on here.
Does this
in some measure, like, is the success of these online systems is sort of a function of how much limbic resonance they're able to achieve with people. The more limbic resonance, the more engagement.
The limbic resonance. Well, let's just look that up, folks. Oh, good old Wiki has it. So the more of this they have, the better off they'll be, right, with AI. That the capability for sharing deep emotional states arises from the limbic system in the brain. These states include the dopamine circuit, promoted feelings of empathic harmony, and the norepinephrine circuit originated in emotional states of fear, anxiety, and anger. Oh, man. Unreal. So more of that they can get. They want your feelings. They want your emotions. They must strip them. And they're already doing it, folks. I mean, some of you out there just thinking to yourself, there's no way they'll ever do that. You're already emotionless. When is the last time that you actually cried tears? When is the actual time? I mean, how often do you stay in states of fear, anxiety, and anger? You're already doing that. Your fear of everything, fear of money, public speaking, approaching the opposite sex, The list goes on and on. How often are you anxious? You know, I can't tell you how many people talk about anxiety. They have anxiety. Of course you do. You know, how often do you spend with your face in your phone? You know, and then anger. Well, don't even get me started on that. Just hop online on the internet. You can see anger.
Whereas, like,
They're all there on the internet. They're a projection of our limbic system. It's true.
no, it makes sense. And the thinking of it as thinking of corporations and just thinking of just human beings communicating online through these social media networks as some sort of an organism it's a cyborg. It's a combination. It's a combination of electronics and biology.
Yeah.
Electronics and biology, folks. Bad news. Our body was not designed to be associated with electronics, especially not on the AI level. In fact, it's already impacting you very, very bad.
In some measure, like the success of these online systems is sort of a function of how much limbic resonance they're able to achieve with people. The more limbic resonance, the more engagement.
So the more anxious, fearful, all that, the more your emotional states are there, especially emotional states of fear, anxiety, and anger, the better off that they can get you.
Whereas, like, one of the reasons why probably Instagram is more enticing than Twitter.
Limbic resonance.
Yeah, you get more images, more video.
Yes.
It's tweaking your system more.
Yes.
Do you worry?
All Joe's saying, it's more emotion when we see content, rather than if we had to read text. So, you know, memes and video, they tend to spark more emotion than anything else. So that's and Joe doesn't even go into detail there, which he should have. He should have went into the negative states of emotion, which basically are really taking over the internet and always have.
Or wonder, in fact, about what the next step is? I mean, a lot of people didn't see Twitter coming, that, you know, communicating with 140 characters or 280 now would be a thing that people would be interested in. Like, it's going to excel. It's going to become more connected to us, right?
Yes, things are getting more and more connected. They're, at this point, constrained by bandwidth. Our input-output is slow, particularly output. Output got worse with thumbs. You know, we used to have input with 10 fingers, now we have thumbs. But images are also they're a way of communicating at high bandwidth. You take pictures and you send pictures to people. That communicates far more information than you can communicate with your thumbs.
So what happened with you where you decided, or you took on a more fatalistic attitude? Like, what was there any specific thing, or was it just the inevitability of our future?
As you can see here, guys, Elon, I mean, he ends up opening up a little bit even after he has some whiskey later in the podcasts, you know, and talks about some other stuff, which is really interesting. He's very careful, especially when Joe's talking about AI. He knows. So there's a couple things, guys. One, the more that we move into this, there's already seems to be a small little uprising, like people like me who are saying, wait a minute, time out. We can't do this. The more we do this, the more it's going to impact our children. I mean, just do searches for things like 5G, EMF impact, dirty electricity. The Electric Body is a really good book that talks about some of this stuff. so we already have a small group of people and even doctors that are saying, wait a minute, we can't do this. Even what we're doing now is detrimental. We have wireless everywhere, power lines everywhere, smart meters everywhere, highly impactful to our body. The radio waves are flowing through us more than they ever have, including the microwave radiation from cell phone towers and you name it, and including Bluetooth and, I mean, everything, guys. So if you combine that with what they want to move to, which is a wireless grid where they can track you at any time, any place, but also where they somehow integrate with your brain, then it's going to take years not only to do that, but it's not going to work. It's going to be like trying to work a Windows 98 computer in 2018, even if they try it. It's just, and then by the time they even attempt it, it's going to be like, wait a minute, this sucks. I'd rather just, do it old school. I don't see it working. I think Elon knows it's not going to work. I think he's warned it, but I think that the powers that be, especially the military industrial complex, they want to do this. It's the 4 C's, which is communication, control. This is why command and computing. That's what it was. Command, control, communication. I might have it mixed up, but there's 4 C's: command, control, communications, computers. That's what it is. And this is what and boom, what do you know? MilitaryAerospace.com reporting on that. But command, control, communications, computers. This is what it's all about. And with that, you get surveillance. Surveillance. They don't even need anything to monitor you anymore. These heavy metals and everything that are in our air, they have detectors that know exactly where every single human being on the planet is from their satellites that have some of this communication. Look up wireless grids. Look up the gynotrons. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Gynotrons, gyrotrons. That's what it is. It just hit me, I think. Yeah, gyrotron. Capable of generating high power, high frequency radiation. Read a little bit about those. I'll put some links too in here. But better than this is just doing research on wireless grids. It's happening, folks. They know that the way to control is not only through EMFs, which they're already doing with the devices in your hands every day, but if they can make sure that you have wireless on you every day, they know exactly who you are and where you are at all times. And you don't even need to care because they have your info. If big tech like Apple, Facebook, Twitter can just remove Alex Jones, it doesn't matter what your feelings are of Alex Jones. They work together. You now have the tech companies literally working together, folks. That's really all the news that you needed out of that, is that they communicate, they watch each other, they share each other's actions. It doesn't matter who you care about. Anyway, the bottom line is they care about each other's actions. So if Apple has all this data about this many people or has the iPhone, then of course, or Google has the best data. Everybody uses Google way more than they have an iPhone. If Google, all they have to do is basically say, hey, look, these are all the names, and this is all the IP addresses, and does that match up with your wireless grid? Oh, they detect an IP address that's, it's not on the wireless grid, they'll get it on there. It's way worse than you guys know. And a very good book for this is Under an Ionized Sky, because none of this can happen without the sky. And that is written by Alana Freeland, which is an amazing author. So I hope this helps you guys a little bit. Elon Musk seemed a little flustered. He just is taking orders when it comes to AI at this point. He's going to be the front guy, though. And he's acting currently like the government does with situations as the savior. He's going to save us from hardcore AI. I mean, he's also talking about cars that have are in tunnels and all kinds of stuff that just drifts our bodies away from light. The less sunlight, the better for them, because it's hard for their EMFs to work in natural light, the light that God brought forth to awaken us, activate our emotions, activate our spirituality. All that is being destroyed because you're in darkness all day. From your car to your home to your job to when you come home, plop on the couch, watch your entertainment, or get on the internet, you are in darkness all day. You do not see light. Therefore, you're in darkness and you're unhealthy because of that. Not only that, but you're more inclined to be influenced by radio waves because you're not getting, they need you in darkness. Because the more people who are outside in light, they don't fall victim to these EMFs as much as the person in darkness does. They just don't. They're on their phone a lot less the more sunlight that they're in. And we know this. I went to Costa Rica, and I barely saw these, and especially in the mountains where they live, I barely saw anybody on their phones, especially on their phones with their face down in it for, a half an hour like Americans are. They're enjoying the sunlight. Get out in the sunlight and wake up and look up and see what's going on, because I'm telling you guys, they're pushing for this, and it's time to make sure it doesn't happen. All right, folks. Well, we'll talk to you a lot more later.